This introduction examines cellular energy, its forms, acquisition, integration, and real-world uses. Energy, the capacity to cause change, is vital for all living organisms' growth, reproduction, movement, and internal maintenance. Within cells, energy is fundamental to every biochemical reaction. Understanding cellular energy dynamics is key to comprehending life's broader mechanisms. Energy flow. Cells gain energy from food. It starts with photosynthesis, which is the conversion of sunlight into chemical energy stored in sugars and other organic molecules, such as glucose. And photosynthesis happens in the cell's chloroplast. A real-world application is a seed that is in the ground is waiting on the stored glucose to do cellular respiration to make ATP so it can grow and do photosynthesis, so plants do both. How cells obtain energy. Cells obtain energy through the metabolic pathways which regulate their sources. Catabolic pathways break down complex molecules for energy. Example, cellular respiration breaks down glucose, while anabolic pathways use energy to build complex molecules. Example, forming proteins from amino acids. Catabolic pathways release stored chemical energy from food captured as ATP to power cellular processes. Energy released from downhill reactions of catabolic pathways can be stored and then used to drive uphill reactions of anabolic pathways. In a real-world application, we can use a car engine, for example. In a car engine, an explosive reaction happens where the hydrocarbons and gasoline combine with oxygen to produce energy, carbon dioxide and water, called a combustion reaction. The hot gases that are produced pushes the pistons to generate the car to begin moving. Mitochondria is found in nearly all eukaryotic cells, which are the site of aerobic cellular respiration. This process utilizes oxygen to produce ATP by extracting energy from sugars, fats, and other fuels. The mitochondrial matrix is utilized for pyruvate oxidation and for the Krebs cycle, whereas the electron transport chain takes place in the inner membrane.
ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, consists of a adenosine molecule attached to 3 phosphate groups, and that makes ATP.
Cells perform chemical transport and mechanical work powered by ATP. ATP mediates most of cellular energy by energy coupling, which is acting as the intermediate energy source. This energy coupling links exergonic, which is energy releasing processes, to inorganic, which is energy absorbing ones, as endergonic reactions are not spontaneous. In an exergonic reaction, ATP loses a phosphate to become ADP, while the reactant gains a phosphate. This occurs through hydrolysis, where a water molecule breaks the terminal phosphate bond in ATP, forming ADP. The cardiac system delivers oxygen and nutrients to body tissues and removes carbon dioxide and waste products. It links external respiration, which is gas exchange in the lungs, and cellular respiration that uses oxygen for energy. Cellular respiration. Organic compounds possess potential energy due to their electron arrangement. The most efficient catabolic reaction is aerobic respiration, in which oxygen is consumed as a reactant along with the organic fuel. Food provides the fuel for cellular respiration. Carbohydrates, proteins, and fats can all be used as fuel. Some prokaryotes use substances other than oxygen as reactants in a similar process that harvest chemical energy without oxygen. This process is called anaerobic respiration. And cellular respiration happens in three phases: glycolysis, pyruvate oxidation, which is the intermediate step, the Krebs cycle, and the last step is oxidative phosphorylation, which is also the electron transport chain. Integration in the cell. The first step of cellular respiration is glycolysis, and it involves an investment phase where 2 ATP activate glucose by adding 2 phosphate groups. Splitting the sugar then divides the activated 6-carbon molecule into 2 3-carbon molecules. In the final step, these 3-carbon molecules generate 4 ATP with 2 net ATP per glucose and convert 2 NADH plus to 2 NADH, which carry high energy electrons for active transport. And the final product is pyruvate. To apply this is lactic acid. A runner is running and the cells and his muscles need energy more quickly. Glucose in the body gets turned into pyruvate, and when the body is not getting enough oxygen, turns it into lactic acid. Okay, so the next step in cellular respiration is the intermediate step. Happens after glycolysis. Pyruvate enters the mitochondria through active transport and undergoes three enzymic reactions. Pyruvate dehydrogenase removes a carboxyl group from pyruvate, releasing carbon dioxide. The remaining molecule is then oxidized, releasing electrons to NAD plus to form NAD and acetate. Finally, coenzyme A attaches to the acetate, forming acetyl-CoA, which then enters the citric acid cycle for further oxidation. So a real-world application would be the DNA helicases, which are enzymes that unwind DNA, and they use ATP hydrolysis during replication, transcription, and providing access to the genetic code. The Krebs cycle, or also called the citric acid cycle, is an aerobic cellular respiration's central pathway, oxidizing the acetyl-CoA to create energy carriers for ATP production. And it is in an 8-step enzyme catalyzed process that happens in the mitochondrial matrix of eukaryotic cells. Oxidative phosphorylation is the main cellular process for generating ATP, which is the cell's energy currency in the mitochondria. This happens in the inner membrane of the mitochondria. In eukaryotic cells, it is the inner membrane. In prokaryotic cells, this happens in the plasma membrane. Okay. It uses an electron transport chain to create a proton gradient, which powers ATP synthase to produce ATP through chemiosmosis, which chemiosmosis is the antibiotic pathway. This process involves electron carriers, electron movement through proton complexes, and the final reduction of oxygen to water. And it does this in a series of steps listed below or on the side. So to start my conclusion, I'd like to talk about the Tylenol killers. Back in 1982, there were 7 deaths due to Tylenol because they had cyanide in them. And cyanide's mechanism of action involves halting cellular respiration, which in turn severely impacts the human respiratory system. This highlights the critical importance of the cellular respiration for sustaining life, and it was a really good documentary on Netflix. Capacity of change that is used by the 2 laws of thermodynamics. Cells get energy from food that starts with photosynthesis in the chloroplast. A seed is therefore using cellular respiration by the stored glucose to grow a plant. Energy uses metabolic pathways such as catabolic and anabolic processes. The cell's cytosol and mitochondria are 2 structural cells that function to supply the cell with energy. ATP is the energy source that drives the cell's energy. We saw that cellular respiration can use aerobic and anaerobic processes for fuel while going through glycolysis, pyruvate oxidation, and the Krebs cycle. And the last step, which is the oxidative phosphorylation to integrate the cellular processes as energy is the product.